This is Thomas Freed on the Liberty Works Radio Network. This is the Truth Attack Hour, and yes, that's right. We're back with the Truth Attack. So, got a lot to talk about this week. The news topics just keep getting hotter and faster every day, don't they? We are the Liberty Works Radio Network, and we do need the support of the members of the listening audience to keep the network operating and the broadcast coming. So, if you enjoy the shows, the information, the topics, and the discussions, we sure would appreciate it if you could find your way over to the LibertyWorksRadioNetwork.com website, where you can listen online and get signed up as a subscribing member, even if it's as little as $10, $20 a month. Every membership helps, and we do need the support of the audience to keep the broadcast coming. And if you want to become fully informed on the maladministration of the federal income tax by the IRS, the DOJ, and the federal judiciary, the lower courts, you need to find your way over to taxfreedom.com. That's tax-freedom.com, and start reading. Or you can find your way over to irszoom.com and pick yourself up a copy of The Simple Truth About Income Tax. It's a $4 PDF download that lays out everything from beginning to end in the simplest terms, citing the statute, showing you the law, showing you the problems with what's going on, how it went bad, and how we got to where we are, where we have a system of virtual enslavement, not taxation. So, that's irszoom.com and The Simple Truth About Income Tax. And if you know anyone who needs assistance in answering correspondence they have received from the IRS, you should refer them to irszoom.com, because we can help them answer any letter that they have received, and most of them cost $50 or less to answer. Okay, freedom comes from God, not government. Truth shall make you free, and God's true plan for mankind is freedom, derived from faith in God, not government. You put your faith in anything other than God, and it will be used against you to betray you and enslave you to whatever entity you have misplaced your faith in. Only the Spirit will serve you well going into the future. Faith in God. God is the Spirit. Okay, so what do we got in the news? Well, it looks like inflation is coming back. They got the numbers and it's all gone up. Not much, but just a little bit means it's coming back. And I told you that was going to happen because, again, I think it's based on energy policy rather than monetary policy. It's not like they're continuing to pass out dollars to the American people as they did in COVID. And all of this started on day one when Joe Biden shut down the pipeline and canceled the leases and permits. That immediately drove the price of future oil up, and gasoline and diesel took off. That inflated energy cost had to be incorporated into the price of every product and goods on the shelves in every store in America. And those prices subsided a little bit when the price of gas and oil came back a little bit, based on things balancing out after the initial run up and on the reduced demand being created out of a worldwide faltering economy that reduced demand to let prices stabilize. But the Saudis have been cutting production to try and keep the price up. And that, combined with circumstances now, we have the price of oil and gasoline and diesel all starting to inch back up again. And of course, those higher energy prices are going to cascade into the food prices again and prevent them from coming down. So as I've said, the only way to bring the prices back down is to bring down the cost of energy underneath them, at the foundation of all their costs. Because energy costs at the factory to produce it, it costs in the field to grow it, it costs with the machinery to harvest it, it costs with the trucks to move it, it costs with the machinery to package it, it costs with the trucks to move it again. It costs in the store to keep the lights on. So all of these energy costs are incorporated at every single level of the production. It's a tax after tax after tax after tax, and that's why the cost of the final good becomes so high, as the additional energy cost has been absorbed at every single level of production, not just one in the beginning, not just one at the end, but at every single step of the production and distribution process. And the only way to bring the prices down is to get rid of that high core energy price. And what have I said before? That's Donald Trump and drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. You could also build nuclear reactors, but that wouldn't be able to come online probably for 5 to 8 years. And in fact, if you want to move to a clean energy future, right now nuclear is your only viable option. One nuclear reactor in every state in the country. And you could have cheap, affordable energy everywhere for everyone. Oh no, that's not the purpose. The point of shutting down petroleum is not to have cheap and plentiful available energy from renewable sources. It's to control the energy grid at the federal level so that they can ration energy to their political supporters and deny it to their political opposition, just like every other socialist operation on the planet. Absolutely treasonous what they've done. And Americans are paying for it in the reduced quality of life created by the inability to keep up with inflationary product costs created by energy policy. And the Fed can talk all they want. They're never gonna fix an energy policy problem with monetary policy. They're just going to create a depression on Main Street by keeping the yield curve inverted for so long that Main Street runs out of cash while Wall Street sits on $5 trillion waiting for a buy-in opportunity of a market that's at the top. And the banking crisis that will result from the lack of capital on Main Street and the inability of the banks to service their own debts and write-downs of losses in the real estate commercial market, which is all coming due in the next 12 months, is going to be catastrophic. And the Fed refuses to lower short-term interest rates because they think inflation is due to monetary policy. So they won't reduce the short-term interest rate the half a point necessary to disinvert the yield curve and make the long-term rate pay more than the short-term rate so banks can make money lending again, because right now they're not lending. And Main Street is dying. Credit is maxed out. Credit is at an all-time high. Deposits are at an all-time low. Withdrawals are at an all-time high. The American people are plundering their 401ks, their savings, their checkings accounts, their retirement accounts in order to make ends meet. And Joe Biden's economic Bidenflation, the destroyer. So it doesn't look good because the Biden administration doesn't understand any of this. Janet Yellen's on TV talking about how they're going to continue to subsidize EVs. This is another Solyndra operation. You remember Solyndra, right? Obama's going to do solar panels, $300 million to Solyndra, bankrupt 15 months later and gone. They couldn't compete with China, just like we told them when they gave them the $300 million in subsidy to start. So she's on TV touting EVs. Meanwhile, Ford is saying, we're done. We're done. We can't do EVs. They're not selling. It's a bad idea. We're switching to hybrid. Toyota has never been on board with EV. They're doing hybrid. GM says, we're done with EV. It's not selling. We're trying hydrogen fuel in some of our trucks. So the automakers are bailing on EV while the government is touting it as the next thing. They're completely out of touch, living in an alternate reality, just like everything they do. And the news today, of course, is TikTok. They don't want data being collected by TikTok to be made available to the Chinese Communist Party. So the House has voted to ban or to ban TikTok from US unless the company that owns them divests themselves of it and sells it to an American company, which is, it's not the Chinese Communist Party that owns it. It seems like there might be a way to do this without taking ownership away from the Chinese, who are not communists, and other investors who have set this TikTok thing up. It's pretty confiscatory to command that they sell. It seems like maybe it would be better to focus on the data and its handling rather than ownership of the stock. But Congress doesn't really understand anything, never gets anything right. And they somehow, I'll give them credit for this, they got together 352 votes in the House of Representatives to pass this and push it into the Senate. But of course, the Schumer-led Senate is where everything goes to die. We're still waiting on the Senate to take up H.R. 2, which is the original border security bill passed by the Republicans when they first came into office. But that bill's still sitting there. Schumer never took it up. Oh, and what about the impeachment trial of Senator Mayorkas, who was impeached in the House and referred to the Senate for trial, and then, oh, that's right, and then nothing. Everything goes to the Senate to die. They couldn't even get their own border bill out of the Senate. It died too. So we'll see. Who knows what the Senate will do? Biden has said if it comes to him, he'll sign it. In the meantime, he's running a TikTok account and giving his data to the communist Chinese. So talk about lost in the sauce. What can you do? Okay, what do we got? Well, I got all sorts of stuff, right? We're supposed to get a decision on Fani Willis here from the court in a bit as to whether or not she'll be barred from the case. If the judge doesn't kick both these people, Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, off the case, he's as crooked as a country road. There's so much appearance of conflict of interest here. There's so much appearance of impropriety. She hired a friend who she had a relationship with and lied about it on the court, and then paid him 8 to 10 times more money than the other attorneys who actually had RICO experience when the one she hired didn't. And then they went off together and spent the money. Oh no, that sounds absolutely rational and reasonable. Oh, absolutely. That's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, isn't that how all the Democrats operate? Yeah, I think actually it probably is. So we'll have to see. And in the meantime, I think it's in this Georgia case, they dismissed some of the charges, just flat out, right? At least 4 of them, I think, was the number. So that case is rapidly going down the drain, and it should. And I've said before, I think the Florida case should go down the drain on presidential records immunity. Every president has been given immunity. Clinton, Obama, they all got immunity on stuff. Oh, but suddenly it's Trump and now the law has to change. I don't think so. I think there's a chance the appeals court will get it right if the district court doesn't, and I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court would, because Biden's an idiot. He's standing there in his State of the Union address attacking the Supreme Court, demonstrating he doesn't understand the Dobbs decision on abortion. Man is an absolute idiot. So I think maybe I'll talk about that a bit when we get back from this commercial break we got coming up here in just a minute. Again, this is the Liberty Works Radio Network, and we do need support of the members of the listening audience. So if you could find your way over to the libertyworksradionetwork.com website, get signed up, we sure would appreciate it. And again, irszoom.com, pick yourself up a copy of The Simple Truth About Income Tax for just $4 to get fully informed on that matter. We'll be back in 5. Okay, this is Thomas Freed on the Liberty Works Radio Network. This is the Truth Attack Hour, and we're back. I'm just going to get right back into it because there's still a whole lot of stuff I want to say something about, like the State of the Union speech. No, I mean the campaign speech, because that wasn't a State of the Union. He didn't say one single thing about the State of the Union. He didn't talk about the economy. He didn't talk about inflation. He didn't talk about the border. He didn't talk about immigration. He didn't talk about crime. He didn't talk about stopping crime. He didn't talk about the price of oil, gasoline, petroleum, energy. He didn't talk about the price of rent, utilities. He didn't talk about the price of food or products. He didn't talk about the political situation in Ukraine, other than to tell you that he wants to continue funding an endless artillery battle while he fights World War I all over again, in a land war, in a proxy war over land in Russia with Russia. Oh, yes, there's a plan for the future. Let's just destroy the Ukraine, shell it into oblivion, and then the U.S. can pay to rebuild it, right? For the next 20 years? Just like we did in Afghanistan, when we handed it all over to the Islamic terrorists so they can recreate the caliphate state in Afghanistan and send all the women who had been getting education and some freedom for the first time in, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years? And Biden just sent them all back to the Stone Age. No school, all scars, full burqas, no going out, no education, just sit in the cave, have children, and die. Good job, Joe. And you too, girls who all voted for this moron. You sent them all back to the Stone Age. Well done. Did anybody else think the man was drugged for that speech? I think the reason why he was almost 30 minutes late is they drugged him up and he was too jittery to come out. They had to wait for 20 minutes for him to settle down, be calm enough to come out and not shake himself right off the stage. But I gotta admit, he did stay awake for the hour while he attacked Donald Trump and yelled at the country as the angry old man on the porch, right? Trump this and Trump that and predecessor. He actually couldn't bring himself to name Donald Trump, but his predecessor. It's like you'd think the guy hadn't been president for 3 years. All he wanted to do was talk about his predecessor. I think it's pretty clear Joe Biden is one of those people who's mentally ill with TDS. Mentally ill with TDS. That's all he thinks about. He doesn't care about the American people. He doesn't care about the crime, the price of fuel, the price of goods, the price of electricity, the price of gas, the price of heat, the price of life. He doesn't care about the quality of life of America. His policies are destroying the middle class. It's not middle out, bottom up. It's $2 trillion for the green infrastructure corporations, and hopefully, eventually, maybe it'll trickle down. It's the trickle-down theory. There's no money for America in any of his economics. There's nothing but bad inflation, high energy costs, and no relief in sight. Because the fundamental problem at the heart of all the economic problems is the price of gasoline and diesel. The fundamental problem at the heart of the quality of life in the cities is the refusal to enforce the written law as written, and an insistence in allowing the crime to run rampant. To what end? Well, I don't think the Democrats have ever been honest with the American people as to what end. But I've told you consistently what the end is. The end is to create enough destruction, anarchy, and chaos as possible inside every subsystem of our society so that the system is so collapsed and failed that the American people will finally accept having a discussion and a conversation about a new form of government. And guess what form of government they want to talk about forming? That's right, socialist communism. Socialism. You know, like the far left radical youth wing of the Democrat Party has been calling for and completely co-opted this administration because they got a puppet on a string that dances like a marionette. He'll read anything on the teleprompter and then say he didn't say it later on if he doesn't like it. Well, I said what? No, that's not true. I never said that. Yes, Joe, you said that. He's a pathological liar, an Orwellian pig, real human garbage. Oh, but the next day in New Hampshire, well, he wasn't hopped up then, was he? And he was standing in a room with 15 people because that's all they can get to come without guns. That's all they can let into the room before people start throwing shoes at him. And the next day in New Hampshire, what's he doing? Oh, there he's standing, shoulders slumped, lost in space, in a little room with 15 people. Am I allowed to take questions? Am I allowed to take questions? Your president is a controlled puppet, controlled by socialists who are so far left they qualify as communists. And if you think that's extreme, go read the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto and then come back and talk to me about it. And what else? Oh, how about Robert Hur's special counsel report on classified documents? They're questioning him on Capitol Hill, and it turns out Joe broke every law in the book. There were documents all over the country. He had no legal ability, no legal right, no legal power to take any of them. He mishandled them. He bragged about it. He exposed to them. He lied to the country about it. This man should be in prison for 100 years. Oh, but Robert Hur didn't think he'd be able to convince a jury of any willfulness or an intent because Joe Biden is an applesauce-minded, senile gonzo. But you know what? Classified document crime don't require a demonstration of willfulness or intent. They only require potential exposure by incompetence, accidental, intentional, recklessness, carelessness. Any potential exposure is criminal. Here's how serious it is. There are actual cases, at least one that I know of a Pentagon officer who was reviewing a classified document in his office by himself, no back rooms, just a single office, and he was reviewing the classified document. And someone poked their head into the room and said, "Up, big meeting, gotta come right now." And so he closed the folder, got up, locked his office door, and left to go to a meeting, was there for 20 minutes, came back, opened his locked office door, and realized that the folder of classified documents had been left on the desk in the locked office with no persons in it. The law requires that the folder be put into a locked drawer in the desk, in the locked office, to be secured when no one's around. He accidentally left it on his desk for like 15 minutes. Self-reported, was convicted and spent a year in jail. There was no intent. It was a completely and total accidental potential exposure where no actual exposure occurred. And he spent a year in jail, self-reporting. So Joe had thousands of documents all over the East Coast in unsecured locations that he wasn't entitled to have. And we can't prosecute him because there's no intent? This is sick. This is sick. How Nazi the weaponization of this Department of Justice has become. Absolutely sick. What do the Democrats have to do? Actually start shooting people on the House floor or in the Senate or from the balcony of the White House for target practice? Oh, that would be accidental. Right, right. You were aiming at the light post, not the people behind it. I understand. So we've got a problem. Democrat Party has gone socialist. They're the enemy of the American people. Look at the border policy. Look at the streets. Look at the crime. Look at the funding priorities. They're not funding Americans or veterans or the homeless. They're funding the illegal aliens. They're not even trying to win the vote of the black population anymore. That's just taken for granted. They don't understand why you won't vote. All the money's going to the illegal aliens who are being registered to vote. Don't forget to vote for the party that gives you money. Those nasty Republicans, they won't give you any money. So vote blue. Oh, you can only vote in state elections, but all the elections are conducted by the state. So you can just vote in all the elections. I'm sorry, aren't some of those federal elections? Well, yeah, but they're conducted by the state at the same polling places. How the hell is an illegal alien supposed to keep track of what's what? They just do what they're told to get the money, right? Isn't that the rule? Do what you're told, we'll give you a little bit to survive on. Object or protest, and we throw you in jail, indict you 91 times on made up crimes. So, oh, look, Haiti has broken down. Didn't the Clintons take care of this place 25 years ago? Oh, that's right. All the people in Haiti hate the Clintons because the money they raised never made it to Haiti. It just went to all the Clinton contractors in Haiti who kept it and didn't do anything in Haiti except take the money and leave. Now, some ex-policeman who's become, they're labeled him as a warlord named BarBQ because he burns his victims to death, his enemies. He's taken over Haiti. The whole nation is broken down into lawless riots and gangs running the streets. And Joe Biden wants to send $150 million to Haiti. To who? The government's gone, you idiot. You send any money there and BarBQ will steal it and start buying missiles from the Iranians or the Russians or the Chinese or whoever wants them to have missiles. Okay, I know. But you get the point, right? So they don't need money, Joe. They need the Marines. Oh, he sent the Marines, but not to evacuate all Americans, only to help the embassy evacuate. He doesn't care about America, only the Democrats working at the embassy. Oh, there's another coincidence. Isn't that the way Afghanistan went? He left the Americans behind and gave the radical Islamic terrorists $91 billion in armament and weapons? And then they wonder where the money comes from to fund the Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas? On top of the $6 billion they gave Iran in released funds? Yeah, they wonder. Because they're mindless, brainless idiots. Mindless, brainless idiots. So Biden wants to spend money on illegal aliens. Like I say, I haven't said it yet. He's proposed a new budget, $7.3 trillion he wants to spend. He wants to increase corporate taxes $5 trillion. $7.3 trillion, revenues are like $4.2 trillion, so he wants to spend $3 trillion a year on debt while claiming he's reducing the deficit. That means it would be $38 trillion after another year of Biden. Right now it's at $34.5 trillion, running $100,000 higher every 3 seconds. Another $100,000 in debt every 3 seconds. 34.5 trillion, and Biden wants to tack on 3.5 more. Oh, there's leadership you can count on to take you right down the drain into oblivion. As goes the currency, so goes the fate of the nation. Okay, we're coming up on the second break. This is Thomas Freed on the Liberty Works Radio Network. We'll be back in 5 minutes after these commercial messages. Okay, this is Thomas Fried on the Liberty Works Radio Network. This is the Truth Attack Hour, and we're back to finish up the show. And I said at the end of the first break that I'd talk more about how Joe Biden is a complete and total moron with respect to understanding the Dobbs decision. He's at the State of the Union threatening the Supreme Court with the new Democrat majority he supposedly wants to win in the next election, where they're going to make Roe v. Wade the law of the land. This man is an idiot. This man is a complete and total idiot. Congress can't write any abortion law anymore. There's no foundation in the Constitution for an opinion in the court. There is absolutely no foundation in the Constitution for Congress to write law. You have to amend the Constitution. Good luck with that. 3/4 of the states are required. You couldn't even get 60 votes in the Senate to do that. On the same token, the Republicans can't write law to ban it at the federal level. It's a state issue. Neither party can write law to the abortion issue in Congress anymore for a long, long time. It's done. It's over. Even if you had all 435 representatives in Congress, you couldn't write the law. There's no foundation for it in the Constitution. You can't invade the legislative prerogative of the states within their own territorial controls. It's not a federal issue. So this man threatening the Supreme Court with a Democrat majority to rewrite Roe as federal law is just hilarious. They're sitting laughing at him. And it would serve him right if they gave Trump every single victory he's looking for just to shut this idiot up and get him out of office. And I could actually see the court becoming political in these matters because the treason being perpetrated by Joe Biden and his administration is so blatant, rampant, and widespread. It's destroying the quality of life all across America, in every community, except Wall Street. Oh, that's right, and Washington, D.C. So, what are you going to do? You have an idiot in office who doesn't understand the law, doesn't understand foreign relations, doesn't understand war, doesn't understand energy, doesn't understand economy, doesn't understand inflation, doesn't understand manufacturing, doesn't understand production, doesn't understand shipping, doesn't understand transportation, doesn't understand anything except who pays him money. That he seems to understand, that he's not supposed to be taking the money because he's been lying about taking money for 25 years. And I told you all of this 4 years ago when he started running for office. This is the most corrupt Orwellian pig on Capitol Hill. He's the biggest racist on Capitol Hill. The Democratic Party somehow got the black population voting for the racist. Because if you're not voting for Joe Biden, you're not black. I'm sorry, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden are the epitome of the white privilege the Democrats complain about. They're the epitome of white privilege. Commit crime after crime after crime to the point of sedition and treason. And yet, oh, he's just sick. He's too old. And his son is sick. So nobody could convict them of any willfulness or intent. Yeah, we know. 30 million diamonds, cars, automobiles. Don't look over there. We're doing a Wizard of Oz number on you. Pay attention to what's on stage, not what's behind the curtain. So, we got a problem. It's called bad political leadership. Oh, and Kamala's been wonderful as the border czar, hasn't she? Just wonderful. A super job there, girl. Well done. Yeah, we know. Everything is a joke. Good luck putting that woman in office. Okay, I've talked a little bit about this before. Let's go ahead and throw it out there again. The Democrats want to play the game of lawfare. Let's go ahead and do it. When Donald Trump gets back into office, he should go out, have the U.S. Marshals, the FBI, and maybe even the National Guard go in and arrest every single member of every single Democrat administration that voted for sanctuary city policies. Sanctuary city is a blatant violation of federal law, and every person implementing the policy can be charged for every single individual involved, up to and including state judges who don't hold over criminal aliens for ICE detainer to be picked up and release them from the federal courthouse. Because Title 8, Section 1324 makes it a federal crime with punishments from 1 year to death for any of the helping them to cross, assisting, transporting, housing, concealing, aiding, or abetting in any vehicle, in any building, in any way, any illegal alien who they know has crossed the border illegally and who they assist in that endeavor or in maintaining their presence illegally in the country. Every single Democrat politician in the country can be arrested under this federal law and tried for any deaths or crimes committed by the aliens, which exaggerates the penalties, as I said, from 1 year for each offense up to death if a citizen dies, which of course is what Lake and Riley's family should be doing. And Donald Trump should prosecute everyone in New York associated with the release, everyone on the federal side associated with letting them in, and put every single one of the Democrats in jail for violating federal law, Title 8, Section 1324. We don't even have to make up the statute. They won't tell Donald Trump what statutes he's allegedly violated, and they've made up the use of the laws that they are prosecuting him under. But here's a statute you could actually attack all of the sanctuary city Democrats for actively violating federal law and promoting policy that has led to the destruction of the quality of life in every American city in the country. You want to play lawfare? Sure, let's play. Put them all in jail for trial. And let the American people decide as juries whether or not they should be held accountable for the death, for the theft, for the assaults, for the stolen budgets. So, and how bad is it getting? Did you see the news out of New York related to the New York Fire Department? You saw that, well, if you didn't, Letitia James was appearing at an event sponsored by the New York Fire Department to probably pass out some civic awards to firefighters or the group in general. I'm not actually sure, but of course the firefighters support Donald Trump and not Biden and the Democrats, and they booed aggressively, vociferously. They didn't throw shoes at her or anything, but they booed Letitia James and chanted for Trump. And apparently the union leadership and the fire department leadership didn't like that the members of the fire department were exercising the First Amendment right to express their dissatisfaction and displeasure with Joe Biden and Letitia James and their persecution of Donald Trump rather than a legitimate prosecution based on a real alleged crime. So they booed her and chanted for Trump. And the fire department administrators put out an announcement. They put it up on Fox yesterday. I got it on one of my YouTube shorts. You can check that out if you want. The Thomas Freed channel on YouTube. It was up on Fox on the 5 with Greg Gutfeld. The notice from the New York Fire Department, which read, "We want the members to come forward." They're talking about the members of the fire department who booed Letitia and chanted for Trump. They will come to HQ headquarters to be educated on why their behavior is unacceptable. The New York Fire Department wants to re-educate their members who exercise their First Amendment right to speak about their displeasure with the politics being played out in New York. Now they need to be re-educated. You know where that's from? That's Chinese communism. They send people off to the re-education camp if they don't think the way you do. Here it is, Chinese communism infesting the New York administration at the institutional level and openly being advocated for re-education. It's come up again. It came up before under the Biden administration, where they wanted to, with the disinformation, we have to re-educate the people who think that the vaccine shouldn't be mandatory or that COVID came from a lab. Right back to the same theme. You don't think the way we do, there's something wrong with you. Well, refusing to admit that there's something wrong with the reality that they've created in every city in the country. And it's absolutely clear that it's the Democrats who threaten democracy. They're attacking opponents in the Democratic side because they don't want Joe to have any opponents on his own ticket. They're trying to put his real opponent, Donald Trump, in jail so that he can't run. That's third world banana republic nonsense. That's the end of democracy, where one party puts the opponents in jail. That's communist Russia, that's communist China, it's Soviet Russia, it's communist Cuba, it's communist Venezuela. This is pure outright socialism. It's the Democrats who are trying to destroy democracy. And they've installed their little petty dictator, mindless, brainless, soulless Joe, who'll read anything off the teleprompter just like a true idiot. You got a puppet on a string, a marionette, and hopefully the American people have woken up to this nonsense because, as I've said, it appears that Trump is leading in all 7 or 8 of the swing states, depending upon how you count it, from anywhere from 2 to 10%. And theoretically, if he wins the swing states, that's the end of it, because we all know California ain't going to vote for Trump, and Illinois isn't going to vote, and all the liberal states are going to vote liberal, all the conservative states are going to vote conservative, and the election will be determined by 7 states in the middle: Arizona, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, Michigan, or Wisconsin, I think is probably in there. And you might even put Virginia in there because Virginia's been real purple. They elected a Republican governor and then swung back and elected a Democrat Congress on the abortion issue. But this time they could vote for Trump instead of, a lot of them might vote for Robert Kennedy. You can't vote for Joe Biden. If you've got eyes, a brain, and ears, you can't vote for Joe Biden without feeling guilty about committing treason to the nation. His policies are destroying the quality of life. They could easily be fixed. Drill, baby, drill. Bring the price of gas back down to $2 and your food prices will come down too. And if you don't do that, they're never coming down and the middle class will be gone. Because this isn't a middle out, bottom up. This is a top down trickle theory that isn't working because they've cut off capital to Main Street. There is no trickle down. The money isn't being lent. The banks don't lend and they're an inverted yield curve. This is a planned conspiracy to enslave the American people by eliminating the middle class in its entirety. And they're planning on moving on the rest of the world. That's part of why you're at war with Russia. They want the natural resources Russia has for world distribution under a world global socialism. But Putin won't let them have it, so he's got to be removed. How do you remove him? Well, you can't do it by military or assassination, so you wear him out economically and try to make life in his country bad. But it didn't work. The price of oil is so high, the life in Russia is fine. They have enough revenues to survive from the high price of oil, which Joe handed him, his best weapon. So Joe doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't understand tactics. He doesn't understand strategy. He doesn't understand war, and he's a coward. Complete and total coward, afraid of everything, and Joe Biden should label him as such. Donald Trump should label him as such. We'll be back next week.